Hello, and welcome to the Wine Enthusiast Podcast, your serving of drinks, culture, and the people who drive it. I'm Maria Yagoda, digital executive editor here at Wine Enthusiast, and today we're joined by two women who are the powerhouse co-owners behind Roose wines, Marian Leitner-Waldman and the Emmy-nominated actress, director, and producer Elizabeth Banks. In this episode, we talk about wine's lingering snobbery problem, why the future of the industry belongs in a can, and how they are navigating a shifting consumer landscape by meeting wine drinkers where they are. Plus, the Hunger Games actress reveals which wine she thinks they drink in District 12 and the Capitol, and how her career in Hollywood prepped her for the beverage industry. Listen to learn more. Well, welcome. It's so lovely to have you both, Elizabeth and Marianne. How are you doing today?
We're
Excellent.
great. We love talking about Roose wines together.
We
Yes.
do. We do.
And first, before we even kind of get into it, you're coming out with a Chardonnay. And despite being such a ubiquitous and popular grape, there are still so many misconceptions around it, especially in America. So I'm curious, what are you kind of hoping to debunk about all of these Chardonnay stereotypes that people have?
Well, I think there's a few different ways that I wanna answer this. So first and foremost, like, our whole identity has been about how do we bring a new generation into wine, and how do we make wine accessible? And there's very much certain varietals in this country where it's as you do wine education and you kind of expand the tent, people are like, "Oh, that's not for me. That's for my great aunt Flora who likes it to drink and taste it this way." And so what we just really wanted to do was create, and that's very true of like the American experience with Chardonnay, but globally it's represented in so many different ways. And a huge core component of Archerou's wines is about how do you explore the world of wine. And so, we went to Côte de Gascon to France and we met this amazing female winemaker, Delphine, and she has just this delicious, clean, crisp Chardonnay that is just one beautiful example of way this very expressive grape presents itself. And so we're thrilled to bring it. And I think that more and more younger wine drinkers want clean, crisp wines. But even within that, there's so many different expressions and flavors to bring out. And that's what we were really set out to do.
Yeah, I'll say it even more plainly. Chardonnay, despite being one of the best-selling varietals in America, is not my favorite. And I am somebody who grew up being like that buttery, rich, sort of golden wine has just never worked for me. And which isn't to say that that's not what, maybe our consumers wanted, but it really was exciting to find something, a Chardonnay that actually was crisper, was brighter, was lighter, which is what you want to drink out of a can, by the way. It's the experience, it's a different experience than like that big goblet, right? Like I really think our Chardonnay speaks to people who sort of like that a Chardonnay, but are not like won over by it. And I'm telling you, this one is going to win them over because this is the Chardonnay for people who don't love it like me, but get to that picnic or want to bring something that they know people are going to love in the backyard picnic this summer. This is the Chardonnay for that person.
Love that. And you mentioned Aunt Flora, who might have had Chardonnay in her day. And I was recently talking to some friends. I was curious what people thought of when I said California Chardonnay, and it was oak, oak, butter, 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 mom, mom, my mom, oak, my mom, butter. And I'm curious thinking about what were your first introductions to wine in general and like what made you fall in love with wine? I'm guessing it was not a Chardonnay, and I'm just curious what your first aha moment was with loving wine.
Right in my brain, just when you asked me that question, was a moment in France drinking rosé and being like, "Oh, this is what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be an experience, and it's supposed to be about, a sense of place." There was something just so fully connected about those sips, that bottle, that night where I was like, this I and me being a European traveler and feeling like I was coming into my own as a person and feeling like I deserve wine. Do you know what I mean? And I can think of other moments like that too. I mean, wine is it's for celebration and family and ritual and community for thousands and thousands of years. So, but I think for us at Archeroos, we are about that sense of experience, that sense of community. You know, why do people drink wine? What do those occasions look like? And how do we meet consumers at those occasions? You know, like how do we enhance that occasion for them? And for me, that's when, drinking wine as a younger person, that's what brought me to it, you know, that sense of occasion and fun and community and the girls are all together or the brunch is brunchin', you know what I mean? And so how do we create that feeling for people when they're drinking and having fun with each other?
And as usual, like Elizabeth has just, I think, said it perfectly. Like wine is a vibe. And my earliest recollections and memories with wine are actually with Chardonnay. They're with my mom and her best friend coming over on a Saturday night, rolling up our living room rug, putting on Bonnie Ray, and, like, all of us kids, like, everybody dancing, having a great time, and, like, that that is wine to me. It is the it is the celebration, it is this community, and as I, got older and went on my own journey with wine, like, there have definitely been a handful of moments where I'm like, "Oh, now I really love the taste. Now I can really appreciate the structure." But, like, first and foremost, it's gotta be a state of mind and a feeling.
Right. And you mentioned on premise has been big for Archer Roose wines, and you're in a lot of sports stadiums. And when did that kind of click that that was going to be a really important part of the business?
Well, it actually goes back to, something that Elizabeth and I have long talked about, which is that our brand can't be built on convenience. Or like canned wine as a category can't be built on convenience. It has to be built on it being a replacement pour for a bottle, not for a bottle that you've laid down for 10 years. That's not what wine is for. But 97% of all wine that's bought and sold in this country is he less than 2 years old and consumed within 72 hours after purchase. So, it's for young and fresh wine, right? But it had to be a replacement pour for that. And as we were building the credibility of the space, wanting to be scrappy and wanting to tap into this vibe and this feeling, we made the conscious choice to build in the on premise because it was a way to trial and taste people on it and to demonstrate the quality. But it also ended up solving problems for our accounts. So it offered one to one inventory management, it offered that control pour. It made sure that you had no waste, right? You made money off the first can of wine you sold, as opposed to like if you open up a bottle, you're actually not making any money on that first pour, it's only on the second. And
Mm,
so when you have that perfect alignment of like consumer need and insight, solving problems for the trade, like that's I think where magic can happen, but it doesn't work unless the quality is there. And that's really what we've staked our claim on.
yeah. That and I'm sure, with the pandemic also, there had to be some tweaks to the approach, right? And as I was doing my research for this interview, Archer Roos has been on airplanes and in restaurants. And even now, kind of beyond that, as consumer tastes are shifting and the industry is facing its own headwinds, how do you feel like, the RTD space is now super crowded, and it seems like Archer Roos has still found a way to kind of break free of the big, big crowd and stand out. So I'm curious how you approach that as the landscape feels like it's constantly shifting.
I think there's a lot to unpack in that question.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
agree. Which one do you wanna
My
take?
bad.
Yeah. I think what I wanna tackle first is the wine industry piece and the wine industry changing. I don't believe that, like I think the wine industry has created a problem of its own making. It is not consumer centric. It is very attached to its own traditions and rituals. without recognizing that over the 8,000 years of history of wine, those traditions have constantly evolved. And they can also old traditions can coexist with new traditions. But the bottom line about our brand is that, we decided that we wanted to be a part of people's lives on a daily basis. And so that meant we had to lean into format so that they could just have that glass. If they just, lean into not just moderation, but recognizing that people don't live in intergenerational homes anymore. Like you need to make it so that it's easy and accessible. The second is that you have to recognize that the way people live and spend their time has evolved. Experiences are so much more important, and cans have been embraced across categories. And so we need to be a part of that. Otherwise, we will be displaced by a light beer or an RTD. But none of that matters if the quality is not there. And this is why we partnered with Cornell since 2019. And in the process, we've actually developed our own suite of patents to protect the quality of our wine and to make sure that this could be a true replacement pour. And you don't have to take my word for it. We actually just won the Sommelier Choice Awards for our Sauvignon Blanc, where we are the wine of the year from Chile. Not in a can, but full stop.
That's amazing.
I think so. I'll jump in right there because that's a perfect example of the storytelling that we sought out to do when we first partnered. Marian said, I am looking for not just a fellow female founder who's, irreverent and wants to disrupt an industry, which is something I do in entertainment already, but somebody who can tell the story of wine in a new way because we're up against all of these traditions, because we're up against, it's not easy to disrupt a category that is this old. It's important to remember, I think, that, the cork, when the cork started going out and people were getting twist tops, everyone was in a wow, it was like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to wine. How are we going to know what's quality? And the wines with corks were telling the wines with twist tops that they were worse than the wine. And it's like, no, 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 this is just a format change because we have to deal with sustainability. We have to deal with what is working and what's not working supply chain wise, right? To me, when Marian approached me, I was like, I get it. The can is just the future of wine in format wise. It solves the problems of sustainability, of waste management, of convenience for people. I just felt like, oh, this is literally just the future of wine. Now let's talk about how we have to change the storytelling, because when you tell older people it's wine in a can, they immediately think it's lesser quality. So that's the storytelling that we're doing on a daily basis, which is making sure that we're in blind taste tests. We're not just in canned wine categories. We want to be the tide that brings up all the boats behind us. We want to be first and foremost when people think about canned wine. They think about our Roose because it's delicious. Period. That's it. It's just really good and it fits their lifestyle. But that's been the challenge and the storytelling challenge that I've taken on, of us sort of saying, let's not take this all too seriously. Who are we all kidding? We're not snobby wine drinkers, talking to sommeliers and ordering wine in cases from France. We want to enjoy wine tomorrow on the soccer field, next to the pool, while we're, visiting friends. Like, that's it. Let's actually, talk about wine in the way that consumers actually consume it, to have fun. And so to me, that storytelling element, that's what's been most disruptive in the category. It goes along with our format, but they had to go together.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's an ongoing process because there's something so specific about the wine industry. I've worked in food, media, and kind of all over the place, but the wine industry is so rooted in these traditions, and it does feel like there are so many barriers to entry. Like, there aren't so many excellent entry point wines in the way there are with beer. There's an affordability problem for a lot of new of age drinkers.
The affordability piece, like this, at some point, this industry decided that premium meant, unaffordable, without recognizing that if you don't have a price ladder, you inherently are not welcoming new people to the category.
Yeah.
And everyone's, oh, Gen Z millennials are drinking wrong. They're not doing it the right way. And no, you got to move quickly. You got to meet people where they are. And it's striking to me also to be chatting with two women about this because I feel like women are often very underserved by the wine industry. So I'm curious what that's been like for you guys.
Well, first, hats off for the pun.
Ah, thank you. Yes, it was planned, very planned.
Uh,
I mean, this is something that, like, Elizabeth and I talk about a lot, and, you know, I think, she brings this up and reminds me often as I sometimes fall into, like, the sort of my industry perspective, but, women are by far the biggest cohort of daily drinkers in an industry that's been built to cater to the 3% who are collectors and are overwhelmingly white and male.
mhm.
Um, the women who are daily drinkers are across socioeconomic circumstances and races. They have different relationships with wine, but when we are marketed to, it's often like, "This is your mommy juice," or your jewel box or something, and we just wanted to create something smart that treated you like a person, and, like, that's what I mean, who do you wanna have a drink with? You wanna have a drink with Elizabeth Banks, she's everyone's, like, favorite hang, and so it's this a big part of this was about, like, how do we take what's actually relevant to women? And one core part is that we have a lot on our plate, you deserve a treat at the end of the day, which is your glass of wine, but we recognize you probably can only have 1 because you gotta be up with your kids, and you have to go to work, and you have to manage 20 other things. So how do we be the brand for you?
Yeah.
But that's not to say we don't want men to drink our wine too. We
Right,
love you
of course.
all.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. But, I do think it's one of the other things I thought when we first started talking about my first interactions with wine as a young drinker, I definitely luckily, the first thing in my mind was being in Provence, but another thing I would say is I was very intimidated by wine as a young person, and I was a server for 10 years, by the way. So this is someone coming from
Really?
who had to like, pop the bottles and know about wine and, serve wine in restaurants. Yeah, I was a server for 10 years.
In New York
And
or in
in New
LA?
York for a little bit, in San Francisco, in my hometown. I started
Wow.
waitressing when I was 15, yeah.
Wow.
And I waitressed from 15 to 25, very different, various different places, but pretty high end in New York for sure. And I say all that to say that even though I interact with wine on that level, it was always intimidating to me as someone who was like, this feels expensive. I don't know enough about it. I don't want to say the wrong thing and embarrass myself. I don't know how to order it off the. It was just, I think it put me on a back foot, you know? And who wants to feel that way when
Yeah,
they're interacting with any product?
yeah.
And so it's just sort of like, wow, the wine industry, it's like there was a snobbery to it. And so I still think when I interact with people now, there's still those people that are like, I would not drink this. They're just there's a status obsessed symbol of certain wines, etc. That's just not our company at all, right?
Right.
We are trying to create wine drinkers that maybe get there and maybe want that and are not, but we just don't want to intimidate anyone out of the category. That's it. We just want to be inviting. I don't want anyone to think I don't know anything about wine. Guess what? We tell you everything about it on the back of the can. You can learn everything about this wine, go to your next party and talk about it and build your status that way, and seem cool that way. And so that's the other thing that really excited me about what we were doing with Roose. Luxury wine in a can for everybody, accessible, not intimidating. Just have fun with it. It's meant to be a good time, guys.
Yeah, for sure.
I
For
love that.
sure.
And I also love that you worked as a server for 10 years because I feel like you had a front row seat to a lot of these attitudes about wine. And I'm also curious, working in entertainment, if there are any learnings from that space that you feel like you're able to bring over here or kind of vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, for sure, I would say as a producer, writer, director, but we're constantly as a company in my entertainment company, we have to take the seed of an idea every time out and bring together all the right collaborators, put together the entire package, think about who the consumer is for it, sell the whole idea with marketing, and then put it out into the world. So that's a skill set that as a producer of content, I've been doing now for, going on, I don't know, almost 20 years. And so that skill set lent itself pretty one to one directly across when it came to building a wine brand and building a brand generally. You have to build out pitch perfect with who is this for? Who do I want to invite into this? Like what is it, etc. So there's a lot of like one to one there. But at the very base level, it's the storytelling is about human connection and how do we create a shared experience for the quote audience, right? The consumers. And just bringing that sense of irreverence and comedy, which I think is very sticky to what I do. That's who I am as an entertainer, and I think it's that side of myself is what I'm bringing pretty fundamentally to Archer Roose because we are trying to be disruptive in a category that did take itself really seriously and we think really desperately needed a lighter touch to sort of connect with consumers, as you've been saying, where they are. And so I just feel like whether, I'm stepping into this fun character of, Marian's like thorn in her side, sidekick, co-owner of Archerus Wines, I love being that character to her and annoying the hell out of her. I like being that character, but it's really just about like we're just trying to create like what are some memorable storytelling elements that we can bring to a category that has really never done what we're doing. you know? Like we just want to make luxury wine genuinely fun.
Even if it involves snake giveaways.
And so looking ahead, what's exciting to you about what you guys might be getting into in the future? Does it occur to you that there might be a brand new format that we haven't even conceived of yet that's going to happen? Or is there what do you when you look out at the horizon of Archeroos, what are you excited about?
Well, we there's a few different things that we're excited about. First, we're excited about what's working. Like 25% of our growth comes from just increased velocity from accounts that have been with us year over year. So that means
Wow.
that people are trying us and then every year those accounts are growing. And we've seen
Wow.
that across the wholesale channel and then of course through our partnership with JetBlue and now through our new partnership with Breeze Airways. Um,
Ah.
we we got us one projection for the year, and like our partnership's a couple months old, and we've already exceeded it. So I am gonna touch on something that you said just now, which is I know that there is a thought in this industry that there's a recognition that we have to find an alternative to the 750 milliliter glass bottle, but maybe that alternative format doesn't exist yet.
Hmm.
And I would push back on that and say instead, like, we have to listen to what the consumer wants and rise to the occasion of that consumer. And the consumer has been unequivocal in its movement to cans across soda, beer, spirits, which people never thought would happen. And the reason why they're saying that, they're raising this question about format is because when the strategics got into canned wine, it was a failure because they didn't pay attention to how canning wine is different than bottling wine. And that was a big question that the brewers grappled with, in the early 2000s, cracked because of consumer demand. And so my challenge to the industry is to say let's actually give the consumer what they want and instead ask us how to be able to deliver a dangerously delicious glass of wine to that consumer, for whenever they want it. And in the process, we can unlock new occasions. And I truly believe we'll welcome a new renaissance era into the industry.
Love to hear that because, sometimes I mean, often I don't hear that actually because, I talk to a lot of people in the industry and there's such a sense of doom and gloom sometimes. And seeing such a big success story and leaning into what the consumer has been, yeah, telling you unequivocally what they want and are interested in is refreshing. So I love to hear that.
Now we just need the industry to partner
Yeah.
with us in order to help accelerate, I think, this movement
Do
because
you feel
that's
like
fundamentally what it is.
I think movement is such a good word. I know we've talked about how we don't see this as a trend. We think that really this is it's like a behavioral solution for a generation that wants to drink less but drink more intentionally, whether that's about moderation or occasion or convenience, right? I think that's what's been really exciting for us is seeing and then how many solutions we provide for people who wanna have a fun glass of wine.
Yeah,
Right. And I think that also being able to cater to and be mindful of those drinkers who do wanna drink less, like, they're still invited to the party too,
totally.
rather than being like, "Why aren't they drinking more? This is ruining everything."
Exactly.
You know?
And and the reality too is that, like, we're still comparing ourselves to what the industry did in 2020 when we were all drinking our faces off, and that was not sustainable.
Right.
So, this is really just saying, like, listen, like, we are all healing still, I think, from COVID in a lot of ways, and one of the reasons why we have been so dedicated to the on-premise is well, there's the business reason, which is that our format allows us to go to accounts where wine is never played before and
Hmm.
be a part of consumer stories, in a way where, like, wine didn't show up, and that is a massive financial opportunity. But then there's the emotional, because ultimately we're all in wine because we are delusional romantic suckers at the end of the day, and it's about connection, and for us, the on-premise is about community and being able to scale our community as fast as we can, and that's because, I think we're still healing from being isolated.
Mm. Yeah.
It is a giant collective trauma.
Yes,
And,
Totally.
Marian and I really connected during that collective trauma, and it was drinking the wine. I've tell this story, but it was like I had moved to my family to Utah in the pandemic and because we could be outside a lot and, I was, floating down a river drinking the wine, like, the bubbly, like, dipped in the river and, like, keeping the can cold, and it was like, "This is amazing."
And is that how you got connected? You were like, "I have to be in touch with this."
Yeah, we got connected through some business, associates, but one of whom texted me and said, "I have this, woman reaching out about canned wine, and I feel like don't take this the wrong way, that's totally you." And I thought, "You
My
know me so
gosh.
well, friend in business." Yes, it
It's
is totally me.
amazing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think the industry is like being reborn a million times over, especially with the pandemic, and love chatting with two women about this. And so I think also going back to the Chardonnay thing, it's like, oh, that's like my mom drank this Chardonnay. There's also been this association in the industry that things that women like are bad
Yes.
completely.
in every
Master
industry, I
man.
guess, you
Oy,
know?
don't get
Yeah.
us started.
Don't
Yeah.
get us started
Yeah.
on this, but, like, the point is that They control more purchasing power than ever. So give the women what they want.
Yeah.
That's how
Same
you
with
make the money.
entertainment.
How you make the money.
Yeah. They're gonna show up and spend. So like
Yeah.
stop ignoring them. Final question, because my coworkers really wanted to know, what type of wine do you think they drink in the district? I'm so sorry. They were like, you have to
Oh,
ask her.
first of all, in District 12, they're
Yeah.
like, they got nothing. I mean, they're making, they've
Toilet
got
wine?
yeah, they're drinking toilet wine. Exactly. They're making it themselves at home. But in District 2, or in the capital,
The
they
capital,
we
that
the capital has it all. The capital has it all, and they're definitely they're walking around with their canned wine through the streets for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
love
For
that.
sure.
Well,
President Snow's drinking our bubbly on the daily.
100%.
love to hear it. Oh, what one more. This is for me. This is a for me thing. What about Avery Jessup? What is her go-to?
Oh, Avery Johnson would be thrilled about this upcoming Chardonnay launch, let me tell you. That is her wine. It's like we made it for Republicans. Let's just say that. We were looking for a wine for our Republican lady friends. This is
Oh my
their
God,
wine.
that's so funny. Yes. I love the storytelling that you bring to the table is amazing.
Well,
Seems
I'm
like
proud
this
of
is
you.
really a really good partnership we have here.
We're
We
very
meaning you two. So thank you so much for your time. You must be so busy. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you both. And if there's anything that you feel like you wanted to say and didn't get a chance to say, feel free.
I mean, on this similar vein of your last questions, Elizabeth, what canned wine did you drink while you were hanging with Bear Grylls in Norway? Because I just finished that episode. That was nuts.
I wish, by the way, we got to expand to Norway, obviously.
Yeah. In process, in process.
It's so, I mean, Mary and I also love mountaintops. That we're very excited. We have a partnership with Vail now, right? And so we can be at the ski resorts, which we love. We're big fans. And that's where truly in Norway, I was like, oh, mountaintop wine. It's like it's got to be crisp. You want it out of the can. You want the can cold. Like everything about it felt correct to me. Yeah,
Yeah,
you'll figure that out.
totally.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
How do you feel about canned wine? Do you think the wine industry is doing a good enough job meeting consumers where they are? We'd love to know. You can email us your comments and questions at podcast@wineenthusiast.com. Remember, you can subscribe to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to your favorite shows. You can also go to wineenthusiast.com/podcast for more episodes and transcripts. I'm Maria Yagoda. Thanks for listening.